Live. I'm live. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to DVTV in Space. This is our second episode or segment or program. We're really excited to be here. We've got Brandy. Amara Sky is back with us
Thank you for
week.
having me again.
Thank you for being here. Brad Pritchett can't be here today. He's out of town.
She's a bitch. She's very busy. She's a
very,
busy drag
very
queen.
Busy girl. Yes. And Israel, down there on the end. Israel Luna, this is our space station host.
Yeah.
And then I'm Tammy Nash, and I'm the managing editor for Dallas Voice. Today, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Our new issue of The Voice is out today. And just right off the bat, let me mention the TGRA Rodeo. It's the Texas Traditions Rodeo, Texas Gay Rodeo Association event. They're doing it at Diamond T Arena in Denton. And
I'm surprised that there's a gay rodeo because you wouldn't think that rodeo and gay community would go together, and it's the opposite, right?
Have you ever been?
I have been once. Because I think we covered it once.
Yeah, we probably did. Actually, I think 1985, there has been at least one gay rodeo in Texas since 1985 every year.
So is it like an actual rodeo where like they have bull riding and all that, like that kind, like gays want to get that dirty?
Totally, yeah. It's not a circuit party. And they just call it TGR.
Ooh, girl.
Right, it's the rodeo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, it's a rodeo. They do have some very specific gay events that you're not going to see at a mainstream rodeo. We have goat dressing is one of them, and they have the goats out there, and they're tethered to a thing, and you have to run out there and put underwear on a goat. Some tidy whities on a goat.
Nice. We're so creative.
Teams
I
of
love
two.
Our community.
Well, they have to gay it up a little bit, you know. It can't be a regular rodeo.
Oh no.
Yes, another one of the gay events is the Wild Drag Race. Is that it? Yeah, I think it's the Wild Drag Race. I may be saying it wrong, but basically, you have teams of three, and you start with a steer that is in the chute, and one of the people is in the chute. No, they're out of the chute, but they have the rope that's tied around the steer's horns, and they have to get that out of the chute, get that steer out of the chute, and they come across a specific line on the arena floor. And once they get that over that line on the arena floor, the other person comes in and helps, and you have one person who has to be in drag. Now, it's not like Rose Room drag. Oh, okay. Okay, it's like some jeans and boots and a skirt over your jeans and a bad wig.
So this is Rose Room drag, but on Thursday Night Amateur Night.
I wasn't going to say that, but I was like, I'll let Israel say that.
But then that person has to get on the steer. Oh, wow. And the other two have to get that person in the steer across another line.
Have you witnessed that?
I have not witnessed that, but that sounds amazing.
It is amazing. It's also very dangerous because those steers are not happy.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine.
And, it's one of what they call an entry event for people who don't know anything about rodeo but want to participate.
So they participate in the most dangerous.
All right.
In drag.
In drag.
It's not the most dangerous because the steers are not as big as the bulls.
But that says a lot about the person who's in drag, because not only do they have to have the talent to do it, but to do it in drag. So that means like a dress, skirt on, a wig, you know.
And
that's
so
right.
Do people from all over Texas come to this?
For this one, yes. This is a statewide event. Now, one of the things that's interesting about the gay rodeo, and there's an IGRA, International Gay Rodeo Association. There's probably gay rodeo associations in most of the states, if not all of them. It's an international event, but men and women can compete in any event. You go to the rodeo, and the girls are going to be the queen on the horse and the tiaras, or they're going to do the barrel race. In gay rodeo, the queens are the guys, but they do.
So did you see women like compete when you went?
Absolutely. And what's interesting about this is our previous show that we just had before this show, my show Don't Panic, Fridays at 3. We were talking about Lisa Ling's show. Well, she had a show she has a show on CNN, and she had a show dedicated to the gay rodeo associations. And it was really
do you know, was Texas featured? Does anybody know?
There's a guy named Wade Earp who's been around in Texas gay rodeo for a long time. He's a championship cowboy in Texas Gay Rodeo Association, and he was on there, I believe. He was one of the featured ones.
Wow.
Yeah, and it looked like a lot of fun as well. I mean, because the gender roles are switched, and it's really fun. And then, of course, you sprinkle in some gay stuff and assless chaps and some hot pink,
But
chaps.
I love that. Like, it gives it a whole different, experience. And then you get to see that, women can do just
rough stock.
And I love that. I love that our community does that.
And although this sounds really simple, but it is a big thing for the straight community to see, these gay men are out there and they're real farmers with horses and doing these hardcore things.
Yeah. I completely agree.
And there are a lot of rural gay people that participate, and they have their own horses and their own ranches and things like that. A couple of things about this rodeo in particular. There's a young man, I don't know his name, but he is from Australia, a young gay man from Australia, maybe 18, 19, 20 maybe, who has come in from Australia to compete in this rodeo. And he does mainstream rodeo in Australia, and I think he gets a lot of flack for being gay because he's openly gay. But I think they did a GoFundMe to help pay for him to get here.
That's really great.
That's awesome.
So he is competing. And then there is gypsy horses. A woman, I think she's out of Burleson, who has gypsy horses, which are really large, kind of like Clydesdale type horses, and I had not heard of them.
Nice.
But they go in. She has these horses she's bringing in to perform, and I think she is not an LGBT person, but she is really excited about the TGRA rodeo, and it's really
well. That's so great that they're not, that they're so inclusive of everyone. You don't have to be a part of the community.
Yeah, that's
you
awesome.
don't. You don't have to. You do have to be 18 because they did have, I think a man wanted to pay for his son. He said, my son found this and he wants to ride in your rodeo. Okay, well that's fine, but he was only 15, so he couldn't. But
it gives him something to look forward to when
exactly.
he's getting older.
Yeah, he's got 3 years, driver's license and rodeo.
Right. But, I'm so glad that something like this exists because there are these, small town people that are gay and they really don't get exposure to stuff. So if you have a lesbian from a small town of 2,000 people and she's into horses and she's into doing rodeo and stuff like that, it's good to know that this exists because now this gets them out of their small town and doing stuff that they love, and it's also gay.
And they can see themselves, and I think that's always a big thing for our community is you want to see yourself represented in some way, shape, or form in the community. And so like you have these rural gays, and so like the lesbians like, oh, finally, this is where I fit. Like we all want to be a part of a community. I mean, that's extremely important. So that's not my thing, but I'm glad it exists.
Yeah, absolutely.
everybody, and I think everybody should go at least once or twice to see the rodeo.
I'm kind of convinced.
Yeah,
I'm kind of convinced, but my only thing is I'm such an animal lover. I just don't know if I think I'd start crying. Like just, I don't know.
What part that?
I don't know because the animals don't want to be there.
Well, yeah, they're a little angry. They're
a little angry and perturbed. So that's been my only.
But you can be rooting for them to hit people and throw them.
Sorry, gays.
Because it's kind of expected. That's what we're waiting for. Is they're gonna get slaughtered.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the fun as well.
Yeah, and like I said, there are all the events you think of: the barrel racing, flag racing, pole bending. So a lot of these events don't have
food.
There is food.
Funnel cakes.
Yes, I don't know about funnel cakes. I don't know if they have those.
Oh.
But
we'll have to change.
I'll go for the food.
Yeah,
and the drag races. Yeah,
and you can pet the horses.
Now, are you going this year?
I am going to try.
Okay.
I am kind of swamped this weekend, but I'm going to try and get out there. And that's one of the other things. They are talking about bad weather coming in this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, right? We're supposed to be having some
I don't know.
heavy-duty bad stuff.
I think it's Sunday, I think, for sure.
But even if it's raining, Diamond T Arena is a covered arena, so
that's good.
You can see the rodeo without being rained on.
So it's heading this way because I know I have a lot of family in West Texas, and I've been seeing it all over like Good Morning America when they're talking about the hailstorms and stuff like that.
I think we're supposed to get another wave either sometime tomorrow or Sunday or something.
Well, at least everybody's going to be covered.
Right.
It might not be here. It may, not come at all, or it may wait a week.
Yeah, but this is in Denton. Denton always kind of seems to get like the worst weather out of North Texas. Yeah.
Don't let that scare you away.
Don't let that scare you away. It's covered.
Diamond T is a covered arena.
It's only because God hates Denton. That's all.
That was not the viewpoint of Dallas Voice.
There needs be a disclaimer over Israel Luna and I.
Okay. All right.
We have less than a minute, by the way, before our first commercial break.
Hey, well, let's just go to our first commercial break here, and on that note about Denton, we're going to go to our first commercial break, and we'll come back. We'll talk about some other stuff, some serious things.
I
and
like that.
Not
Other
so serious things.
Other stuff.
Just whatever we feel like talking about. So, all right. See y'all in a bit. Okay, we are back from break. We've been talking about the rodeo, but now we want to talk a little bit about a more serious subject. Today is National Transgender Day of Visibility. And so we want to talk a little bit about why that's important. Back in the 90s, he had the Keith Haring, you coming out of the closet, National Coming Out Day, because it was important for people to know that they knew someone who was gay, right? It's harder to hate us. It's easy to hate us when we're just some nebulous other out there. But when you know somebody in your family or in your job or in your church, wherever you know that person's an LGB person, it makes it harder to hate them. And that's why National Transgender Day of Visibility is important, because right now, the transgender segment of our community is really coming under fire. Bathroom bills, violence, and so we really want people to know this is a transgender person. Transgender person probably isn't what you think of. When you know a transgender person, you're going to stop and you're going to think, that's not at all what I expected. So, some statistics here. This is from the National Coalition of Anti-Violence Projects. Did a study in a national report in 2013 on hate violence against LGBT people. the majority of the victims of hate violence homicides in 2013, 72% of the people who were victimized by hate crimes were transgender women. And that is in 2013. That's 4 years ago, but the number's probably lower than that or higher than that because the reporting is not always good.
Right, exactly. And it's really interesting that it's the transgender females, because what I've discovered is, knowing more and more trans people, especially with my films, is that a lot of the transgender female to male are very, what do they call, stealth, where they don't want anyone to know. They do pass. And they would rather not have people know that they're trans. So, I wonder, if that's a good or a bad thing, because it's tough, because I'm not transgender, although I do feel that I am a black woman trapped in a gay Latino man's body. I've said that before, but I don't understand that. But I can see both sides of, because they do need to be represented more, and it's usually the male to female women that we see on the news or out there protesting.
Yes.
And I wonder how much that has to do in response to relationships too, because, if I think the onus becomes on a transgendered female to reveal the fact that she's transgender, and I think that shot, and if they identify as heterosexual, like those men heterosexual men can't wrap their head around.
Exactly.
And so, I wonder if that has a play in the female violence, like that teetering of female violence, regardless of what it is.
Well, and women in general are
Yeah.
going to be victims of violence, right? Women face discrimination. Cisgender being women who were born biologically female. We already have discrimination that we deal with. There's violence that we deal with. And so transgender women have an added level of violence to have to deal with.
And then you add of color. So then, you're triply oppressed.
Exactly.
You're of color, you're female, and you're trans. So that's a triply oppressed person trying to make in a heterosexual world.
Yeah, well, there's also a stereotype from the straight community, especially straight men, to where, let's just say there's a transgender female who's in a relationship with a male. The moment he goes crazy and he beats her up, well, the easy response is, oh, well, I didn't know she was transgender. And then the cops believe it. The straight community believe it because, oh, how dare she? And then there you have it. Nothing's done. And it's just in ignorance. There's lack of knowledge on their end.
And that's why it's so important to be visible, though. Like, Laverne, it's so important for you to stand up and be visible so that other people, we were talking about this in the rodeo, they see themselves, they see themselves represented. And that's a big deal, especially to the queer community. Because I know being brown and queer, like, I never saw anybody. And, we still don't have a black queer female. Like, there are no, I don't see myself. And so I think that's really important that you have like a Laverne Cox. I'm not going to say Caitlyn Jenner because
we don't like her.
Whisper that one.
Yeah, that's right. But it's important.
You talk about privilege.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just really sad.
Yeah, and there's just a couple of other things here. Transgender people are more likely to experience police violence and physical violence from law enforcement, and transgender people of color were more likely, 6 times more likely to experience police violence. Trans people are 7 times more likely to experience violence and physical violence and harassment from police and law enforcement. Transgender women are 1.8 times more likely to experience sexual violence.
Well, I know that here running the studio, I'm doing my part as much as I can, because now that I have my show and I'm the industry that I'm in, the film industry, there's not a lot of LGBT or T people in the film community. Most of them are straight. And I'm always pushing to people about, because I have a film called Ticked Off Trannies with Knives, and it's a very self-empowering film. But when we talk about that, I ask these men especially, so have you ever known a trans person, or would you date one, or whatever? And when of course, their immediate reaction is, no, this is what... I try to educate them.
Yeah.
And we spend a good half hour. Shannon, our switcher, he knows this. I'm always talking about, about trying to educate them, because as long as they're educated, then it takes the fear away. It's the fear and their ignorance that happens. So I'm glad that there's a day of, now what is it called again? Because
National Transgender Day of Visibility.
Day of Visibility, because I know the day of Day of Remembrance, it's all about the women who died, and this one is more of just being seen, and I really like that this exists.
I
think that's very important. And we're talking about relationships, and we're going to segue, this smooth segue here. We're going to segue into talking about, or letting Brandy talk, first of all, about the column that she wrote in this week's Voice. It's, I think, something that a lot of us are having to deal with. I mean, a lot of us have been out and, born that way. We have our families, and our families come from different religious backgrounds, and it's a kind of, I love you, let's just not talk about this, and a lot of it. And so I think it
I'm loving
moves
this
from
build
there.
up. What is this about?
I'm going to let her tell you about her column. I think it's really good, and y'all need to pick up the Voice and read it.
I think this is the first time my hands are sweating. Like, I get nervous talking about this only because it's so personal. So the column that I wrote about in the Dallas Voice is, my partner and I recently got married last year. And so, yay! And so we're both very traditional. I had dreams of my father walking me down the aisle, and I wanted that to happen. So she wanted to talk to my parents and we wanted to get their blessing. So we sat them down and we had the conversation, and my mother was born again in like 2003. My father wasn't. And so to preface this, I'm such a daddy's girl. Like, I'm going to try not to cry. I'm such a daddy's girl. So I had visions of him. So I'm a daddy's girl, and I wanted him to give me away. And it had nothing to do, and I talk about this in the column, it has nothing to do with like these it had more to do with just me loving my father and wanting my father to give me away in a sense that this is your new life. So he has a PhD, he's he's a psychotherapist. He's the one that taught me my feminism. He's the one that taught me that, gays, we are born this way. This is not something that you choose to be. So he was born again. I don't know the exact year, but so when we sat down, I don't know what I was thinking. I was maybe just hoping against hope that they would give their blessing. And I didn't expect them to go. Like, I kind of already knew that they weren't going to be at the wedding, and totally fine with that. But I at least expected a blessing. Like,
so what happened?
The words out of my dad's mouth were, "We love her and we love you separately, but we don't love y'all together." And then I just kind of blanked out. And then it was about faith and religion. And they're not bad. They are so supportive. And I think that's why it hurts even more, is because I have never not been supported by my family. Like every art thing that I want to do, even my career now as a writer, everything I've ever wanted to do, they've been fully supportive. And so this was hard because it was the first time that they basically just told me no. And I'm an only child. And so that's what the column is about in a nutshell, is that.
Now, do your parents, how long have they known of the relationship? I mean, have they been in on it the whole time?
I came out when I was, technically to myself when I was 16, and I came out to my parents when I was 23. It was actually the night that George Bush got elected, and I was like, well, fuck it, the world is going to end anyway. So hi, Mom and Dad, I'm gay,
Right.
So they've known, known for a while, but I just don't think that they expected. I don't know. I don't know if they really thought that I was gay, like full on.
Not
gay.
a phase.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay, so then I take it they haven't come over here to visit you and spend the
visit.
weekend with you guys together and everything?
Yeah, they come and visit.
Mm-hmm. Where do they live?
Corpus Christi. I'm from Corpus Christi.
Well, it's I come from a very large family that's very tight knit, but they're country people, and they know me. They love me. I am who I am. My partner and I have been together going on, 16 years. You know, they love her. They love the kids, our sons. But they don't want to have to talk about it. Mm-hmm. And they, having to give your blessing to someone's wedding or attend that wedding is acknowledging something that is just so ingrained in them, that's wrong. And if they acknowledge that, then they have to acknowledge that maybe there's something wrong with you, right?
I come from a family that's very similar to yours, and we weren't like really practicing Catholics. I'm a recovering Catholic.
I am too.
Yeah,
Pro-Kill school. Yeah.
Recovering Baptist.
And so what I'm listening and clinging on to what you say is, how wonderful, how wonderful they are, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm picturing my family, and then if they were to do that, the first thing that I just have a lot of questions like, what is it that everyone's open to their interpretation of what God says or the Bible or anything? What is it? Because it's something personal from them, and it has nothing to do with you or your relationship. It's their image that they feel they need to have for their neighbors. And I wonder if they know that's what it is.
I don't even know if it's that. I really think that they're sincere. Like, I think they, belief and God is a big thing, just like me being out and being queer is a big thing, and being visible, Yeah. And I wrote it because there are a lot of gay people out there, queers who come from these kinds of families that don't value acceptance, and it's super important for them to see somebody going through it and surviving, because it really, when it boils down to everything, it's about love, and
absolutely.
Love, regardless of color, race, anything, is never wrong.
And it's time for a break, Tammy.
Okay.
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say this really quick. Hi, Chad. Thanks for watching. Okay.
Hi, Chad.
And we will be back. We will be back after this break. Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, that was hard. On my armpits are sweating.
Okay, and we're back. And I think we were really getting into that topic, and we let Brandy have a break to catch her breath. But we want to talk a little bit more about the idea of families and relationships and being openly gay with conservative families, perhaps. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I know they love you, and I don't know. I just
Absolutely.
keep thinking to myself, since what religion specifically are they?
I never really asked, but I think they might be evangelists.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. See, I'm not a super religious person, so I don't know what.
Like Billy Graham. Joel Osteen.
Those are
okay.
different denominations. They're all evangelical, conservative type.
That's
Got it.
Evangelical is not really a denomination.
like I
It's
know
just
that they love Joel Osteen, so whatever he is,
Whatever he is,
that's
okay.
that's what.
obnoxious. So I'm going to say that's not your folks.
Oh, that too.
We're not gonna say that your folks
Look
are
at
that.
Tammy being funny. Now, is there fear that you're going to go to hell? Is that what it is?
Well, no, for me personally, when I first came out, yeah, because like I said, I went to Catholic school until I was in 6th grade. So I think, any kind of recovering Catholic has that when they're first coming out, like in the back of their head. But no, not now. I think their concern for me is, I don't know if they believe in hell. Like, I don't know exactly what the afterlife is, but I think, I've always heard my mom say, hate the sin, not the sinner. And so I think what they're concerned with is, I guess, what happens after this life, or that, living this life in the afterlife is going to have this happen to me. So
Having grown up in in more of an environment than I'm more familiar with that than you. You didn't grow up in that way, and I think people, for so many people, your religion is your comfort. And that's why religion has so much control over us, is because whoever is in charge of your religion is the person that holds the key to heaven for you. For Catholics, it's that priest. And you got to get that priest's okay, that blessing before you die, before you can, not go to hell. Or I'm not Catholic.
So when you say they were born again, does that mean that now they have no sin whatsoever, and now you're the sinner and they don't have any? Or what does that mean?
I don't even, they were renewed back into the faith.
Born
is
again.
What,
Born again is just it's a phrase that describes being saved.
yeah.
A conversion, a religious conversion.
Got it. Because and I'm not wanting to turn this into a religious show. I'm just wondering, these are my questions that I have to just kind of get in their mentality of why, because what does this mean now?
Well, I think it's this is what the Bible says, or not even the Bible, but this is what God says.
Yeah.
Homosexuality, or I don't even know. It's more about marriage. Like, marriage is between a man and a woman. And it's more about protecting that, I think, than it is about anything else. Because
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think that for a lot of people in my family, I left the church. I grew up in a Baptist church, but I left that when I was in my early teens. But it's, like I said, it's such an integral part of their lives. It's such an integral part of where their comfort and their security comes from. And when you come out, but you don't talk about it, when they know that you're gay, but they don't have to talk about it with you, they love you. No matter what, they love you. Okay?
Yeah, like I've never felt unloved. Like, I know they love me.
But they don't have to talk about it, so they don't have to. When they have to confront it, when they have to talk about it, when they have to consider the fact that you were getting married and I'm asking you to give me your blessings, what that's doing is that's putting their love for their family member, their child, in direct conflict, and they don't want to have to face that conflict.
It was hard. Like, and I could, and that, I guess maybe if there was a glimmer of hope or saving grace in that moment, was that I could tell that it was hard. I could tell my mom cried. Like, I could tell that it was hard for all of us, and that was like the first time that it was so vocal. And my father's a minister, so he just got ordained as a minister, like, a year prior. So
there's a weight on their shoulders right now.
Like,
yeah.
You're absolutely right. There's a direct conflict facing them between faith and their kid. And I've thought about this a whole lot. My ex-partner before my wife, Candace, was trans. So I wonder, had I decided to marry him, if they would have given their blessing, because
That's interesting.
he was, transition.
You should ask
It was
them.
I'm male.
You should ask them just to know what they would say.
maybe not.
But so I'm curious. So that's also going in the back of my mind. Like, how would that dynamic, if any, would that have changed? Because technically, man and woman.
No, I don't know if it's just because I'm a gay man, but I think to myself, thinking of being in their psyche and their mentality is so confusing, and it's so simple to view, like, where you're coming from. Hey, we love each other, and theirs is like, whoa, but God says this, but what about if this person's trans? Oh, well, it's like,
yeah. I try not to think about it. It is what it is now.
Yeah.
Like, I've healed, and I think this kind of helped, and we still love it. Like, they call me every day. I text them. They're supportive. It's just getting over that hurdle was the hardest thing.
Right.
So.
Wow.
Well, all right, let's move on because, y'all are going to make us stop talking here before long.
Yeah.
Want to talk a little bit about, let's start with the new PrEP clinic that's coming out. Resource Center has announced that they are launching a PrEP clinic. And PrEP, for those who might not know, is short for pre-exposure prophylaxis. That it's basically a pill, Truvada, that you take every day, and it helps decrease your risk of contracting HIV. It's something for people who are a little more risky.
Yeah, high risk.
Well, right.
High risk. Thank you. That's
high
the
risk.
better
And I feel
term.
that this is a really important subject because today I have my cousin who is here. He's from a small town, he and his boyfriend. Now, a lot of people don't know about PrEP.
Yeah.
And so I tell them, I have a good friend of mine that lives here. He's 21 now, and he didn't know anything about it. And I have a friend of mine who had posted on Facebook something about, hey, I'm considering getting on PrEP. Does anyone know of a clinic? And two comments down, a friend of his says, oh, is this because you want to have bareback sex? And I was like, oh my gosh.
Such a
you know,
misconception.
exactly. Now, the way I would have answered it is yes, because it's natural. This is how sex is meant to be had, is natural. We have become so, I don't know, like brainwashed into thinking that condom sex is the way you have sex. It's not. It's because there was a fear of catching HIV. Now, there's this pill that comes out. If you take it daily, it reduces your risk. Or, I mean, the studies pretty much show that
90%, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah, I've got
huge percentage
Here.
that you won't catch it.
However,
Yes.
here's the other thing. Natural or not, it's dangerous sometimes,
Right.
and you can take Truvada, you can use the PrEP protocol, and they still encourage you to use a condom. They still encourage you to, if you're going to have needles, share needles, clean them. You know, they're not saying, run wild, be free. They're not telling you that, because that increase your risk. You don't want to have HIV. A lot of young people these days think of HIV as, oh, it's just something I take a pill and I'll be okay. It's not, y'all. This is a deadly disease. And
You sounded very Texan there. It's not, y'all.
I am very Texan. But when you, this is from the CDC, it's not a vaccine, and it doesn't work the way a vaccine does. You can't start today and take one pill and run out and do whatever you get your freak on, y'all. Because it hasn't built up, you're still vulnerable.
Right. So from what I understand, you start taking the pill, and then the doctor tells you, and I think it's about a month. You have to take it for a month, or is it
depends.
longer?
No, it's not. Estimated it takes at least 7 days for PrEP to reach high levels of protection in the body. When used correctly, Truvada for PrEP, and PrEP actually is more than just Truvada. It is an entire protocol. And when you go to this clinic, they will tell you that. When you read my article in The Voice for today, it will tell you that. It provides 92% to 99% reduction in HIV risk for HIV negative individuals. Here's the other thing. You got to do this every day. It's not like
Forever.
It's not like my arthritis pills that I forget to take it. My hand hurts and I'll remember the next day.
Right.
You mess up.
And so speaking of that, let's talk about how expensive it is. Like we're talking for one bottle of 30, it's like $1,500.
That's after insurance, right?
Yeah,
You're
it's
kidding.
like $1,500 to get these pills, and it's like, what? Who can afford that? I mean, who can afford that? So I think, the other part of the conversation is how do we make this affordable? And I don't know exactly what the Resource Center is doing.
They have a program through Gilead, which is the pharmaceutical company, that they will evaluate your situation and find out what your insurance will or will not do, and then help you get hooked up, hopefully, with this program through Gilead that helps absorb some of the costs.
See, now about 3 or 4 years ago, I was living in San Francisco, and they were already trying having these studies done, and people were on it right and left. And then when I moved back here, no one even knew what it was, and I thought, you're kidding. Everyone should know about this pill.
Yeah.
It's not a saving grace, okay? Right. And you can still get all kinds of other funky stuff. Something might still rot and fall off if you're not careful.
Thanks for making me feel really good, Tammy.
I'm just saying.
Why did you look right at me?
But you have to be careful. There are other things to consider, but that's one of the things that they feel like the PrEP protocols have not been as successful as they want them to be because, like you said, people don't know about them.
Right. Well, my question is, how are they letting, especially the younger generation, know that this pill exists, that this clinic exists, and that they can go there and talk about it and see if they want to get on it?
And that's actually very interesting because I was at the bar last night with my partner, and she told somebody that I used to work at the resource center, and he was maybe 20, 23, 24. He was like, "What's that?" So there's obviously already a disconnect. And so part of that maybe is education. I don't know if they need more outreaches. When I worked at the resource center, they did outreaches all the time. So I don't know if maybe there's more of that needed, like in the places
always more of that needed.
That younger people hang out, like in the bars and the clubs. Like I think that's super impactful, you know.
They run ads. This is a 3-page ad spread.
Yeah, but
about
people don't read that.
unfortunately-
Yeah,
No.
like people don't read that. I mean, honestly, I don't like if it's longer in our day and age. You just want to be able to scroll.
Well,
There is a law. Rafael Anchia, who is a state representative from this area, has introduced a bill in the Texas House that would require when anybody goes in for an HIV test and they test negative, they are going to be given information about the PrEP protocol.
Yeah.
And how they can, we know people are going to do risky things.
Right.
We want to protect them. We would prefer
Well, they don't
people.
know they're risky. They just do things.
Right.
And they could be risky.
We know they're risky.
Right, exactly.
But there is a law in California that requires somebody testing negative be given information about PrEP. And they're trying to pass something very similar here. So it's in the legislature.
That's really
now.
great. And for you younger people, younger generation, please get yourself a gay doctor, whether it's a lesbian or a gay man, because they will understand where you're coming from, and it will be more comfortable for you to talk to them about certain things that you do in the bedroom that are not even going to faze them that they would a straight doctor.
I agree.
Yeah. Or, get a straight doctor that knows what's going on. That's how much I have left
for this segment.
How much do I have left after this segment?
Another
a whole segment. Oh, yay!
Yeah,
we're an embarrassment of riches here. So we're gonna go to a break again. Time passes when you're having fun. But we're gonna go to another break, and when we come back, we have another great topic to talk about, and that's Dallas Pride.
Yeah.
Okay,
we're proud.
All right, let's go to break, and we'll come back.
Get used to it.
everyone. We're back. And we're going to talk about the Dallas Pride weekend.
Yay!
You know, and of course we have our Dallas Pride in September, and Tarrant County Pride is in October. So
yeah, so that already brings me to my first question.
All right.
Is all of my friends all over the entire nation say, why do you have it after every other Pride is done and over with and it's almost fall, or if not fall, instead of summer? What do you know?
Because this is Texas and it is hot in June in the daytime. But there is an actual reason for it. You want to tell?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, so there is a reason?
There is a
Okay, I've
reason.
been
All
dying
right.
to know.
1984, there was...
I wasn't born yet.
There was... Yeah, right. There was a court decision handed down. There was some folks here in Dallas who had legally challenged the Texas sodomy law. Okay? Section 2106 of the Texas Penal Code, that prohibited private consensual sexual conduct between adults. That's important. It's private. It's consensual.
Damn it.
It's it's in private, and it's between adults. Okay,
Got it.
consenting adults. But Texas, and it's only same sex. Oh, of the same sex, of the
Got
same
it.
gender. That was the key there. Somebody, Mr. Baker, had challenged that in court. Judge Barefoot Sanders said, "You know what? That law sucks. That law is struck down. We won. The Texas sodomy law was overturned." And the district attorney that was defending the case said, "I'm not going to argue this. We're going to let that ruling stand. We're not going to go." But then some asshole from somewhere else said, "Oh no,
Can Tammy say that? Dallas
I
voice?
did. I said it very well, didn't I?
You sure did.
Yeah, you did.
You own that.
Another district attorney came in from elsewhere and said, well, we can't let that stand. But that happened in like August, and everybody says we're going to celebrate by having Pride in September. You know, it's right after that, and that was kind of what it was.
Didn't it start off as Razzle Dazzle?
No, Razzle Dazzle was a summer.
That's a completely
Oh, was
event.
that the
different thing,
summer?
yeah.
Okay.
Razzle, you know, the first Dallas parades were in the summer, in June, during Pride Month.
So now I understand that, that passed and, everyone wanted to celebrate. And because of the timing of it, it pushed it to September.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that the next year now you get back on track and do it, in the summer. I don't know.
Well, the question came out after, gay marriage became legal. They were like, okay, can we finally have, Dallas, can we have our Pride, in the month that it's supposed to be? And obviously it didn't happen that year. It happened in September. And then now they're going to change it to 2 days.
Yeah. Dallas Pride has always been one of the things about, and seriously, one of the reasons about leaving it in September is because it is hot. Houston has their Pride Parade in June, but they have it at night, so it's not as hot.
Oh, why don't we
Okay.
do that? That's a great idea.
That's a good idea.
There are other considerations. We have it. Austin does not have their Pride anymore in June. I think theirs is in July.
Oh, it is.
We have ours in September. Tarrant County has theirs in October. We're spreading the prides out, so we keep it going. And you can go to all the different ones.
Yeah, that is.
You know,
we
that's
get a
part of
lot
it.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get a lot more people here because
Yeah.
it's different.
And,
Got it.
And plus, there's Dallas Southern Pride, which is our Black Pride. But this year, it's always been, we go have the parade on Sunday afternoon. The parade ends at the park, and it used to be at Lee Park. Now, past couple of years, it's been Rivershawn.
Yeah, so now that's my next question is, I'm used to having, the parade and it flows right into Lee Park and then you walk over there following the last float and then you go to Lee Park and now it's at Rivershawn Park. Why? Because that's a further park.
Do you want the PC answer or do you want my
No,
answer?
I want the real answer.
I think it's just because, I think they just didn't want the gays in Lee Park anymore. I think
Now, when you say they, who's they?
the city of Dallas.
Lee Park Conservancy, I think, but I don't
Okay.
know that's Turtle Creek Association. There was an association
because there's
operated
always
it.
been this argument, and this is what is too gay? Like, do we have men on floats, in their underwear? Like, that's not representational. So I think, they were trying to shift that park to be something else. But if it wasn't for the gays, that park wouldn't be as popular as what it is today.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, conservatives, but it's a gay
true.
park.
Well, and the
I'm sorry.
neighborhood wouldn't be as flamboyant and as bolsterous as it is right now if it went for the gays. It's the same thing.
I mean, Lee Park is right down the street from Oak Lawn and Cedar Springs. I mean, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it is. Embrace the money that we bring to it.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's my, I don't know. Is there actually a reason?
Yes, and honestly, I cannot remember what it was, but there were. It had to do with being able to fence in the park, and having to fence in the park became necessary because of city requirements, and being able to serve liquor and.
Oh, gotcha.
They
During
didn't
the
just
events.
they didn't just fence in the park so they could charge you to go in.
See, that's what I thought. That's what I originally thought.
Right.
They charge you a very small fee, basically, to go in the park. I don't go because I'm old and that's too much. But
Have you been?
Yes, I have been, and that's another question that I have is the last 2 years that I've gone, okay, that's fine. You know, they fence it in, and then you go in. No one takes cards. You have to have cash. So if you're walking over there and you don't want to carry cash with you because this is Dallas, everyone carries cards, you have to go to some ATM hoping that they haven't run out of money, and then you pay. And then when you go inside all of the booths, no one takes cards. You have to have cash. So they need to change that. Take cards, people. Have you heard of Square? Good Lord.
I have
haven't
no
been.
answer for that.
I haven't been since they started charging, and my partner and I are protesting because it just doesn't make any sense. Like San Francisco, you don't pay to go to their Pride, and it's so huge. Like I don't understand why Dallas always has to take it to that level.
Well, who do we
It's-
need to talk
it's-
to about that?
Yeah.
Well, the city of Dallas, a lot of what they're doing is having to comply with city permitting requirements.
Well, that phrase right there, city permit requirements, from opening up this studio, I'm going to tell you right now, you have to let these people have it because they think they're God. So when they walk in, they think they're in charge. They think that you work for them and that they can come in at any time in the day, and you have to shut them down quick and say, no, you've messed with the wrong faggot.
I love it when your brown shows.
You really do. So I can understand. You need somebody that has dealt with them before, who's not afraid of them, to walk in and say, okay, now why are you doing this? Well, that's ridiculous. No, we're not going to do
if you
that.
stop and think about it, they're doing it for all of the outdoor events. I mean, everything. And these days, security is a huge
Is
issue.
Eastern Park fenced in?
No, I don't believe so. But I don't think they serve liquor there, do they?
I thought. Oh, you can't. Can you still bring your coolers?
I don't know if you
Eastern
can
Park?
still.
Now I do
But
understand.
they don't serve liquor there.
Yeah, I do understand that there is a completely
Gotcha.
different ball of yarn if you have alcohol.
Okay.
Exactly.
So
and that's
I
part
can
of it.
understand that.
And we can't have a gay party without a beer booth.
So
Right.
did they not serve alcohol before they fenced it in? Because we were all drinking at the park.
I think you might be able to take your stuff
Yeah,
in there to
your
drink, but they
own.
didn't.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, your own.
It's selling the booze. But there's a lot. Y'all think about the situation with security these days.
right.
How much? It's a lot easier to make sure your event is secure if it's fenced in and not just anybody can wander up and lay a backpack down.
Now I did realize, yeah, absolutely. I did realize that now with the fenced-in part, you go in there and they have all of these great booths and everything, and then you have now like a family-friendly section.
That's called the Family Pride Zone.
Okay.
And that's separate.
Right. That's really cool. It was
is
really
cool.
nice to go in there and see all the families, especially with someone like me who is from a small town, and sometimes you have family that you invite to Gay Pride, and you take them in there so they can see, oh, look, it's lesbian couples, it's gay couples and their kids. They're just like us. Something that simple fixes that for them.
There's let me run down some of the things that are going to be good about that. We've had Teen Pride. There's an organization that's had a Teen Pride, and it's been a separate thing. Teen Pride is going to be part of the festival this year. The festival is going to be on Saturday at Rivershawn. There will be a nominal fee to get in. It's going to be a music festival. There are going to be 2 stages. One stage is going to be local talent, and you're going to audition to be, to have time on that stage, but they're going to have a stage that's specifically for local talent. Then they're going to have their main stage with their big name headliners that they're coming in. They haven't finalized any of that yet, except for Time Machine. There's a local band it's a cover band called Time Machine that's apparently very popular. They are going to be the house band for this. we're going to have, instead of having just food booths scattered around, they're going to have a food court.
Ooh.
We're going to have a wider variety of foods, not just the typical outdoor festival fair kind of foods. They're going to have healthy options, light foods.
No one's going to eat there.
No. And then they'll have, you know,
Liquid diet.
the beverage
Yeah.
booths
Got
as
it, got
well.
it. Okay.
But it'll be organized differently.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, because I know the typical breakdown of Gay Pride up until, I guess, this year is, you know, Friday, nothing really happens. Everyone kind of goes out and stuff. Saturday is like the unofficial gay day at Six Flags.
Mm-hmm. We don't really do that much anymore.
Right. And then, well, because it's always been
have gay
unofficial.
bingo too that night.
Yeah,
right.
There is
gay
gay
bingo.
yeah.
Is that evening?
And then the parade is that Sunday with the after the
The
parade
festival
at
afterward,
the
yeah.
the festival afterwards. So in this one, this festival is happening at Rivershawn on Saturday.
Only.
Yeah.
So what's going to
Okay.
happen to all the people that are on the street?
See, that's part of the thing
That's
where
what I don't understand.
that's part of the thing where we're gonna, you know, people want to talk bad about how the bars, they're just trying to make money and they're, you know, they just want to put more money in their pocket. They're trying to pay the fees and the fees keep going up. So that's why some of the costs have to go up. That's why we have sponsors. But you have these bars that are all along the strip and all over the place, and people were leaving the strip to go to this festival in the park. Now we're going to have the parade is going to come down. It's going to end between Oak Lawn and the turn there at Turtle Creek. And the people, instead of wandering off to the park, are going to be able to go back and be in part of the bar scene there.
Yeah, but like the bars were never not crowded to begin with.
I know.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, so basically you're going to try to shovel more people into the bars when there was no room in the bars to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're always so crowded. JRs, you can't even move. So
What would be
Yeah.
your like another option? Because I'm all ears because I agree with you.
I don't know. Like,
There's also another factor to this that that I've talked about with Michael Doman, who's the executive director of the Tavern Guild. You know, this costs a lot of money to do this, and the city requires that they provide a specific number of security personnel, and these need to be Dallas police officers who are off duty, and they have to be paid a certain amount. Okay, so that's a lot of money. And okay, I see.
Sorry,
But
a little bit.
you know, so you have all these people that they have to pay here to do this, but now you can have part of them. You can have some of them at the festival. Before it'd be this many at the festival and this many at the parade.
Yeah, but
okay,
aren't you going to have to pay them double because
you had this many at the festival and this many at the parade. This time you're going to have this many here and then here, so you have adequate protection, but they don't have to be everywhere. So it makes it a little more secure. I keep forgetting. It makes it a little more secure, and it makes it a little more cost effective. All those barriers that keep people out of the road, they have to pay
They
for
cost,
that.
yeah.
I just don't know what's
All
going
of
to
the
happen to all those
cleanup?
people. Like,
Right.
I'm real curious to see because I just cattle herding. Like,
Right.
I'm curious.
Well, that's, you know, and this may be a learning year.
Yeah.
Right.
But one of the things that I know people get upset, and it's pride, and people have an ownership of that. But remember, somebody has to pay for it all. And we can't just be pissed off at the people who are trying to
No, I
provide
completely agree.
Right.
But I'm not talking you guys, but we have to we have to be able to, you know, you have to appreciate what
And
they're
it's
doing
hard
for
to
us.
appease everybody. Like you're never going to make every
Absolutely.
single gay in Dallas happy. It's just not going to happen.
It's not
You're
gonna
lucky if we make one happy.
right.
You know? So, but I mean, you know, keep those things in mind, and this may be a learning year.
Yeah.
All right. I think we have to go to a break again. So
No, that's the end.
that's it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Whenever you're ready to close the show.
Oh, well, then I guess maybe
Wow.
we're going to break for a week, y'all. This has been DVTV in space. And we will be back next Friday live from Space Station. at Space Studios from 4 to 5 p.m.
Yes.
So y'all have some ideas, something you want us to talk about?
Yes,
Send
please.
us an email. Let's close. Israel?
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any show ideas or anything, you can email us at spacestation, SPAYSE, station @gmail.com. And you can find this show at dallasvoice.com and also on our YouTube channel called Space Station, spelled the same way.
All right. Brandy, say bye.
Bye. Thank you all. Make sure you read that.
Read.
And if you have any questions, please email them to me. I'm an open book when it comes to helping my community. So.
Yay.
All right. And I'm Tammy Nash. And again, thank y'all for being here. See you next week.
Bye. Have a good weekend.
So,
That was fun.
Sweet. Oh my God.
That was a good one.
I think that went
That
well.
felt really
That went-
good. That
I
felt
like that
really
one. I
good.
think we had some good topics.
And I think it also helped too. Like I felt like we had questions for her that
Yeah.
the community probably has, and it's nice to have that.
the
they're-
back and forth.
You know, the back and forth and kind of
And the whole pride thing that's very sensitive for some people.
It is. It's
Don't
a
mess
very
with my
sensitive
pride.
subject. Yeah,
you know?
it's
Right.
a very sensitive subject.
But and some people just don't take into consideration